definitely an action figure guy when it comes to toys, as opposed to games or dolls or wheels or any of the other categories. Education toys, RC, I can go on and on. And I've been lucky enough to work on some brands that I really, truly love and personally collect. When I started in the toy industry, it was with Mattel, and my first assignment for the first 2 years was Hot Wheels. As I said, I'm more of an action figure guy, so it was definitely not a shock that eventually I got moved over to the action figure group. But while I was in Hot Wheels, I learned a ton about the toy industry and how it works. And everything from packaging to retail to competitors. In fact, one of the assignments I worked on while I was in Hot Wheels was to put together a comprehensive report on one of Hot Wheels' big competitors, which was the die-cast toys from JADA. JADA is a smaller toy company in comparison to Mattel, and they were mostly known for doing various cars, doing dubs and just trucks, and kind of a lot of street racing and kind of a lot of like blinged up, customized cars, that kind of thing. They did them in different scales, but as a die-cast car, it was a direct competitor of Hot Wheels, and I had to learn everything I could about this company and and how they were competition. Well, years went by, and eventually I did leave Mattel, and first I was at Jakks Pacific, where I worked on the Big Figs line. Here I am with the giant 40-inch Michelangelo, and boy, do I miss that scarf. I lost that scarf a few years ago. And ironically, after that, I wound up actually at JADA. I was recruited there by a headhunter, by a professional recruiter, to be the vice president of marketing overseeing their action figure department. And at first, when the recruiter called me and said that JADA wanted someone to work on their action figure department, I was like, action figures? JADA doesn't make action figures, they make cars. I know, I did a detailed report on them. Well, they were looking to get into a new category. Looking at the popularity of Pops and kind of the super deformed vinyl look, that's the category that Pops fall under, JADA, being an expert at die-cast, wanted to use their core competency to start making figurines in this category. The super deformed vinyl category is what it's called. And offered in a kind of similar box and a very similar style, JADA came out with their Metals figures, which were completely die-cast, but very much like Pops in the sense that they had a big head, a small body, and large eyes. You can see, Wonder Woman compared directly to Wonder Woman from Funko. They're, very similar. But I will tell you that a Metals figure weighs about 7 Pops. I put them actually on a scale once to see what the difference would be. Because they're pretty chunky. They're heavy. They're made of die-cast. And JADA already had some great licenses from working with vehicles and different licensors, such as Fast and the Furious, and they were able to pick up both Marvel and DC for this category because they were doing it from die-cast. You may have seen a video I did on splicing where I talk about the way different licenses are divided up. And this is a perfect case in point where even though Funko was doing Marvel figures with large heads and small bodies, they were doing them made of plastic. Here, JADA was going to do it made out of die-cast metal, so it was yet another way the license could be split up. The first batch of JADA metal figures did look a lot more like Funko Pops. There we go, spoonerism, with kind of the big eyes and the big head, the jawline, the skinny legs, etc. When I was brought on board to oversee the action figure group, the growing action figure group, since I had worked in action figures and was known for that, that's why I was recruited, one of the things I wanted to do was find ways to make the Metals line different from Funko Pops, and doing different stands as well as making the sculpts a little bit, I wouldn't call them cuter, but kind of more like lifelike, where you were actually getting eyes with pupils and eyelashes. I mean, come on, look at that Jubilee there. That is just an awesome figure. So this was a way of differentiating even more so, because I didn't want to just put out metal versions of Funko Pop. I wanted to make them really special. And honestly, they're some of the coolest paperweights in the world. I mean, they're hefty, they weigh, and I use them all the time still to keep things together on my desk. And licenses kept coming in. The JADA Metals line expanded to cover things like Ninja Turtles and WWE, And it was definitely growing, much like Funko Pop, where so many different licenses were going to be able to be done in one style, meaning the JADA Metals style. And as much as I love doing these kind of 4-inch figures with the large heads and, again, the super deformed vinyl look, even Transformers could be done like this, and the license with Hasbro, because they were doing the vehicles, was great to get. I wanted to find other ways to explore the figure category with die-cast metal, since we were going to only be working with die-cast. That was, JADA's thing. So other things we explored, one of my favorites was this Hulkbuster Iron Man, where you could pop open the head and put that little Iron Man inside. And this thing was $19.99, and it was heavy, like really heavy. I mean, he's all made of metal. This isn't plastic. This was an amazing toy, an amazing deal. It's one of my favorite toys that I worked on at JADA. And part of what I was doing was also trying to cultivate a fan base. This was also why I was recruited over to JADA, was both my expertise in action figures and my knowledge of how to kind of drive convention presence, doing things like giant statues and hiring attractive women dressed up in character to hang out at the booth and sign autographs. We even had this one where we were with the Harley Quinn Suicide Squad. There was a game where you could hit the mallet and ring a bell. We also did out-of-the-box ideas like doing an exclusive Metals figure with Loot Crate and doing a chase version. So this is the Wolverine, or rather the Logan figure that we did, and this was the all-metal chase version, which I think was like 1 out of every 30 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But really finding ways to cultivate a fan base, not just make product. It was kind of a two-way job where I was going to head up product development, but also marketing. Well, my compensation for JADA was very much based on sales. Where the more I drove sales, the more I had potential to make bonuses. And I saw the current 4-inch line as really having a glass ceiling, or at least a ceiling, where there was only so much you could do. And I was really looking for a way to expand the metals category. And an idea that hit me was the idea of going small instead of going big. Now, Hot Wheels have for a long time ruled the toy market as sort of the most inexpensive instant play pattern you can buy. For 99 cents, I mean, I know they started off a little less, but they've been 99 cents or now I think like $1.15 for a long time. Essentially, it's your 99-cent toy. And if you want a toy for $1, this is your go-to product. Well, my idea was, could we make a 99-cent action figure to compete with this? Is that possible? And I started doing a little research, looking at old toys, looking at my own shelf, looking at what was out there, going to a lot of sort of discount stores like Dollar Tree and Big Lots and seeing what they were selling, what they were able to sell cheaply. And most of the action figures that were sold at dollar stores were, kind of very cheap looking, very little deco, not exactly the greatest likenesses. Sometimes, and the idea of doing something licensed, being able to sell, a Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, WWE for 99 cents, that was tough because you were also paying a licensor fee. There were a few things that were licensed, but they weren't $1. They were usually like $4.99, and you still weren't getting that much. Well, I had some cousins, I still have some cousins, who were co-owners of a metal soldier company, W. Britain. And looking at some of the stuff they did, and looking at some of the figures I even had, some soldiers, it really got me thinking, why couldn't this be done with pop culture? And it also occurred to me that as a kid, one of my favorite toys was the Kenner Micro Collection. This was a line of plastic spaceships and playsets with pre-posed metal figures of Star Wars characters. It was only really out for about 2 seasons. Parents actually objected to it because they felt they'd already spent all this money on the 3 3/4 line. They didn't want to have to buy the entire Star Wars world again for their kids at a second scale. It's kind of funny to look back at this, since nowadays we have figures in thousands of scales, from everything from pop to Pez dispensers. There were even unreleased figures from this line. It kind of became that big in toy history. But what I loved most about this line were the minifigures. I thought they were great. It was really cool to have pre-posed little miniature characters of Star Wars. So this kind of got me thinking, and I dug around, and I actually still had a few. Well, by few, I think I mean 4. Here they are in my office. As I zoom in on my shelf, you can see them under my construct spaceship. I had a Luke, Han, Stormtrooper, actually 2 Stormtroopers. Here's a better, or Leia and a Stormtrooper. So there we go. There's the 4 of them. And yeah, somehow these survived from my childhood. Not too many toys did, but I at least had these 4. So I literally brought these actual toys into JADA and made a pitch to the president and said, what if we went small? He liked the idea, but he felt like, well, there needed to be some kind of current entertainment for this, or demand. So I brought up the idea of Stranger Things, because Stranger Things, part of the plot point in it, is that the kids are playing Dungeons & Dragons. And Dungeons & Dragons is kind of the original miniatures toy line, if you will, or miniatures play pattern, where you get little figurines to play, as part of the game. And these figurines were shown on screen, especially I think it was even almost in the first episode of the first season. Well, that was what did it. That kind of put it over the edge, and Jack, who was the CEO owner, said, all right, let's give it a try. And I was amazed. He was so responsive and so embracing of the idea. At Mattel, something like this probably would have taken 2 to 3 years to get through the system. And he did it in 2 meetings. He was like, all right, you convinced me. Let's give it a try. And his support was amazing. I am still so blown away by how supportive he was of doing this idea so quickly with literally 2 presentations. So getting some licenses wasn't that difficult, because really nobody was licensing things like Harry Potter or Marvel or DC at this scale in diecast. So the scale and the material sort of opened the door to get a ton of licenses. And the idea of then carting them and selling them for 99 cents was achievable. And here was the birth of the 99-cent action figure. And man, I was so proud of achieving this. It was also great to customize at different price points, because you could do a 5-pack for $5, a 10-pack for $10, a 20-pack for $20. So it was very scalable and very customizable for different retailers. If a retailer wanted a $15 pack, you could make a $15 pack with 15 figures. Or if they wanted 2 packs or 100 packs. It was very, very easy to switch around and do different configurations within different IP. And all of the IP owners were really ecstatic, because here was yet another way of doing toys for their product. I will tell you, selfishly, when we went after the Disney license, all I wanted to do was this. This was my main goal. I wanted a Gizmo Duck. I was really pushing to include Disney Afternoon characters, and it was really exciting to get to this, because this was literally a dream toy. All right, and then there was naming the line. So we already had medals for the 4-inch figures, and we went back and forth a ton on what in the world we were going to call these things.
It's nanotech. You like it?
And Nano it was. We had so many names up on the wall and so many names on different whiteboards, but finally Nano came and sort of bubbled up to the top, and Nano Metals it was. And it went off to retail, and it was a big hit. In fact, Walmart put it on an end cap from day one, from launch. Over the years, new licenses were added, G.I. Joe, Nickelodeon, through the Ninja Turtle relationship. And it just kept growing. And even after I left JADA, actually wasn't there that long. It was a bit of a commute, and it was kind of tough on my family, doing an hour and a half each direction. But even Dungeons & Dragons, which was kind of the original pitch for it, wound up being a Walmart exclusive line in the JADA Nanos, which was really cool. I wasn't there for this part of it, but seeing these Dungeons & Dragons figures at retail, I just got a big smile. I was like, wow, it all started with this, and now they're actually doing Dungeons & Dragons. I've also seen Minecraft has been a license that popped up. Again, this is all sort of post when I unfortunately had to leave JADA, again, purely because of the commute. But it was hard to leave, because I really enjoyed working on this, especially because, we weren't just doing figures, we were doing play sets, and play sets with action features. And you just don't get to do play sets that much in the toy industry anymore because of the cost. But because these figures were so small, doing a playset wasn't out of the question. And to tell you, I was in love with this line, and the fact that they, Jack Lee, the president CEO, supported it so quickly, and just got behind this idea that I pitched was so complimentary. I really have to hand it to him for seeing this vision, because a lot of toy companies and toy company presidents, they'll sit on an idea for years before acting. And he got it, and he was like, we're doing this. And he flew right off to Hong Kong to get pricing. So he's absolutely commended for supporting this, and I really appreciate the support he gave. Ironic that actually now JADA is focusing back on vehicles, but doing them at that nano scale, kind of like micro machines, but now made completely of die cast. These are actually really cool. I'm not a huge vehicle guy, but the fact that they're coming out with things like Transformers in their sort of 80s animated mode, but in mini vehicles, I don't think we've ever had anything like that. And to me, that's really, really cool. Again, this is, post me at JADA. I bought this one too, the Back to the Future pack, and I love that the Back to the Future 2 car actually has wheels under it, so it'll roll, but the tires are in flipped up position. Really, really cool. Way to go, JADA. And even, Harry Potter has vehicles, so they've been able to take that nano scale and now apply it back to vehicles, which was what they started with, and even do larger vehicles with figurines itself. So figures have lasted at JADA. The Metals 4-inch line has kind of faded away, but it's really nice to see that the work I did there has had an impact, and they've been able to go full circle and embrace what they do best, which is die-cast toys, top of the market. I was really proud to work there and really proud of this line, and I hope those of you who collected it have really enjoyed it. It was really fun to work on. If you like this video, please do share it with others. It tells YouTube to continue to recommend it, and that's what this is all about, sharing fun toy information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.